Bienvenidos and welcome to In Her Footsteps. I'm your host, Maria Salinas. Today, I'm honored to feature the phenomenal Yasmin Cruz Ferrine of Visible Hands VC. From entrepreneurship to motherhood, Yasmin will share her insightful perspectives. We'll also hear how she's bridging funding gaps for Latina founders. Are you ready for an inspiring chat? Let's begin this journey together.
So I will say that I think part of, and maybe this is obvious, but I think you really need to approach fundraising in two phases, that pre-planning phase and then the active fundraising phase. And in the pre-planning phase, that's when you really want to kind of get, I would say, reach out to those that you've been building relationships with and cultivating, but be really clear on how much you want to raise, who you're going to start socializing your idea with, kind of that early friendly pitches, and really have kind of for example, if you're a founder, have your website, your data room, like all of that in great shape. And then you go out and you have the active fundraising phase. And there it's really important that you go in and you're open to the feedback, but you're also going to really follow it and monitor it, and then look for themes and threads to emerge. Often, for founders, sometimes they meet with very sector-specific investors, and sometimes they meet with more generalists, and so they'll hear a lot of feedback. And even for fund managers, it's also very similar. We'll hear a ton of feedback. I did my partner and I, we did 411 meetings together to raise Fund 1. Many of the founders that we help fundraise for their seed round are doing 60 to 80 meetings to raise their round. But what I think is important is that you track the feedback, and then there's advice and there's great advice, and by kind of really almost like categorizing it, you're not susceptible to trying to become everything to everyone, but you're really looking for the big bold things that you may need to iterate on, but you're still holding tight to your convictions and your vision. I started out with one. I mean, there's a very clear funding gap. For example, for Black women, the average seed raise, according to Diana Project, was $150,000, and for Latina women, it was $200,000. Thankfully, our portfolio companies are raising $5 million at the seed round, and really that's what you need to raise to be competitive. The venture capital market in a year plus ago was incredibly frothy, and even then that might have been seen as kind of like a baseline for a really solid seed round. Now those valuations are coming down to earth, and what founders are raising in this market is it's down a year ago, but yeah.
Yasmin, your funding insights are invaluable. You're lighting the entrepreneurial path. This mission aligns perfectly with USHCC's guidance on capital resources. And kudos to our sponsor, Bank of America, for aiding Latinas with funding too. Visit ushcc.com for details. Now let's switch gears to Yasmin's experiences navigating dual identities. I'm all ears, as I know many of us can relate.
So, I am Black, and I'm also Salvadorian, and I feel like a lot of my own identity has duality in it, and I feel like my upbringing was similar. The first 10 years of my life, I was raised by my mom, who was a single mom, largely with my grandmother living in a multi-generational house. And I'm very close with my grandmother as a result. But then after I turned 10, my mother was married, and we had, she owned her home. She got her graduate degree. My stepfather, who raised me, was also highly educated, and education was a real focus. And being incredibly ambitious was something that was expected of me. And so I've seen what it's like when families are just trying to keep the lights on, and then I've been a part of a two-parent household where striving and thriving is expected, not just surviving. So my upbringing kind of had a mix of both.
Yasmin's journey is so insightful. She embodies how our diverse experiences shape us into who we become. While balancing dual identities can be tricky, she shows it's all part of the adventure. Now let's switch gears to a key question. How does Yasmin practice self-care while juggling everything on her plate? I can't wait to get her tips.
Yeah, it's a lot of travel, and it's a lot of work when you're building a company, when you're in the first 5 years of establishing the foundation. We're also entirely remote, and so making sure that we're building teams that are 100% remote but incredibly cross-functional is also kind of, in terms of like what is stressful. Making sure we're building in what we need to do operationally to scale very quickly. I will say lately I've really needed help falling asleep, and playing meditations on the Peloton app before I go to sleep, because my brain is just still like, it will not quiet down. I'm like, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. The other thing is, I try to work out 3 times a week. My husband is probably going to listen to this, and he's going to laugh, because he's like, that's probably like, my husband works out almost every day, and so I try to work out 3 times a week, but I try to make sure that I'm thinking about myself as a whole person. It's something that we do with our founders. I would think that's one of our differentiations. We collaborate on yoga retreats for our founders. We provide wellness coaching. We ask our founders to think about their why and their values at the earliest stage. When they're onboarding employees, think about their core values. And we're not just kind of a classic, venture growth trajectory burnout, where, our founders have to manufacture privilege, and that's exhausting in its own right.
Yasmin's approach is such an important reminder. In the fast-paced startup world, it's easy to overlook well-being. Yet she shows us how to maintain mental health, even when busy. I love that Visible Hands offers wellness coaching for founders. As technology grows, I predict that industry will boom. Now let's explore another balancing act many relate to: motherhood and entrepreneurship. I'm eager for Yasmin's insights on managing both.
So we cannot preach that to the founders that we work with, and then I'm not living up to it. The other thing that we do is we really embrace families, both our team members. For example, whenever we have an offsite, anyone who has a child can bring their child, and if they have a partner, their child and their partner, and that's paid for by the company. We also have childcare for our founders if there's something that is in person. That way, you can't expect people to be incredibly productive if they're worrying about the safety of their children. So that's another facet that's not just about, that's a huge component of mental wellness, but I think kind of maybe falls in productivity. So I think we can't talk about mental health and then just talk about not just the whole person, but then you almost have to zoom out to like, what's your family situation and how can we be how can we be supportive? Because honestly, the only way you can do it is by having a solid tribe. And so helping both founders and each person who is a staff member at Visible Hands, we're a team of 20 full time. So, we're pretty new, but we're growing.
Yasmin and her co-founders are truly setting a new standard. The focus on not just the entrepreneur, but also their family is groundbreaking. Being a parent is a full-time commitment, and that's on top of running a business. Yasmin gets it. She's disciplined in ensuring that her responsibilities as a mother don't take a back seat. Let's hear how she masterfully organizes her time to fulfill both roles.
I don't really. I think part of that is kind of the boundaries. From 5 to 7, which is only 2 hours during the work week, I just I have to be with Natalia, and sometimes it's 4 to 7. And that's just what it is. Bedtime, blessing time, book time is what we call it in my house. And the 4 B's, and that's it. But I don't feel as guilty because I know I'm dedicating this time.
Yasmin's approach to balancing her roles as a parent and an entrepreneurial powerhouse is inspiring. It's a dedicated balancing act, but it's entirely doable with the right mindset and discipline. Let's lean in for what we've all been eagerly anticipating: Yasmin's invaluable advice for up-and-coming Latino entrepreneurs.
My advice is to find other Latinas who are aspiring for a similar dream, similar scale of dream. Some of what we talk about in diversity is homophily, how kind of like birds of a feather fly together, but it can also work in our favor, where I think for our founders, one of the greatest value propositions we offer them is each other and having that sense of community, trusted community. So I think it's really important. If you're not currently surrounded by people who are clear on what they want to accomplish, find that group and then hold each other accountable. And I think that's how you achieve big things. It's not new information, but you have to do it if you want to go far.
Yasmin leaves us with powerful wisdom. Surround yourself with a tribe. Build a supportive community. The connections we form can be life-changing, much like what we have here. She's so right. Going alone may be faster, but going together takes us the distance. Let's embrace that, amigos. Before we say goodbye, I want to sincerely thank our committed sponsors, the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Bank of America. Your support for elevating Latina entrepreneurs is invaluable. Much appreciation to our production team at MNW Creative Studios, Identity, and director Rico Moreno for bringing these stories to life. As we wrap up, remember these narratives are meant to uplift and inspire you. Please like, share, and comment if today's stories resonated with you. And consider joining your local chamber too, where community and resources are there for you. This is Maria Salinas signing off. Keep your ambitions high and determination strong. Until the next time.